Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Battles Warhammer video. Some new information has been presented to the members of the Total War Battles Warhammer Discord. This was in the form of a rather short livestream which went into details regarding gameplay, monetization and a few other things. So I figured we'd go over that with a form of a replay and just dissect it a little bit. So let's not waste any more time and jump right in.
Today we'll be going over some of the gameplay here in Total War Battles Warhammer. And, the common question that we've gotten from players ever since our initial announcement is,
I'm having deja vu, but how much do we need to pay?
Right. So it's a good question. We'll be going over the gameplay with that question in mind. So we're going to start off with the campaign map.
Yeah, so the campaign map is similar to Total War on the PC game. So you uncover the map, you uncover the fog of war, and you can uncover the fog of war using alliances. And as you can see, there's a screenshot on screen at the moment. Use your action points to move around the map, and your action points will deplete as you move. And to get back action points, all you need to use is time.
Right. So there's no way to buy action points even if I want?
Just time. Just your precious time. So yeah, you can use that to move around, and you can also move into enemy territory. Unlike the PC game, you cannot freely explore enemy territory. As soon as you enter enemy territory, you'll start something that's called as a territory battle.
Okay, so before we get into territory battles, let's talk about action points. Action points seem to be a resource which will allow you to move your armies and eventually get into battles. They've stated that action points are tied to the player's personal time. I'm not too sure what they mean here exactly. We are aware that players will not have the option to purchase any action points, which so far sounds like a good thing. It means that the amount of time you place into the game is how you will expand. Now, I'm not too sure if you will be able to regenerate action points in the form of maybe questing or something like that. They weren't 100% clear here, as time can basically mean anything. Does time mean that your actions will be time-gated? Will there only be a certain amount of actions that can be performed per day?
So these territory battles are going to be the main point of PvP interaction. So once you start one of these battles, the first armies that you'll fight against will be the player garrisons. And so these are AI-operated armies that are facsimiles of the armies that are stationed by the player that you're fighting up against. And yeah, you'll have to fight those first.
Territory garrisons. Okay, cool. So we're already used to this. Total War fans are already used to seeing army garrisons, and I believe it's quite common in these types of mobile strategy games. But let's move on, as there's something rather interesting to talk about here.
What if there's somebody that's a really, really strong garrison there? What if there's a player garrison that's super strong?
Exactly. So, a couple things with that, right? If you're fighting up against a really powerful player, it's going to be hard for you to beat that player in one fight. But the key point is, in one of these territory battles, you can't replenish your army. So, if enough of your teammates get together and you really chip away at that, it doesn't matter how powerful the player is, you'll get through them eventually. But more realistically, you're fighting up against a super powerful player that you have no chance against. You just territory and coordinate your efforts, you can totally circumvent that powerful army, leaving it sitting useless. Yeah,
you could call a WAG.
Exactly, yeah. So the takeaway here is the most important thing is the numbers and coordination, getting you and your teammates together, attacking a territory at the same time. After that is your strategy and your positioning, figuring out which ones you're going to attack and if you need to adjust your strategy. And then trailing third behind all of that is the individual power of the player. So ultimately, these things take a back seat to one of the more important things that we're trying to emphasize.
There was a small little jump, as you guys could tell, on the stream. These things do happen, especially with YouTube streaming, so no worries about that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds that your army is just a meat grinder. It doesn't matter how powerful your enemy is, as long as you can keep sending troops over and over, you'll eventually wear them down. They state numbers and coordination, getting you and your allies to attack the same territory at the same time. I don't want to sound negative here, but that doesn't sound like Total War. Yes, numbers can be important, but if you've got a very elite army and you're facing against some basic chaff, I don't think you're going to have much of a problem. And how would this in general work? Would you and your allies be playing the same battle, or would they be playing completely different battles, yet facing the same foes?
So let's take a closer look at how you win these battles in the first place anyway.
Right.
So, to do the battle, as you may have seen in our screenshots and our videos and our also trailer, our heroes are commanding a regiment behind them. So I can confirm you have 5 regiments per team and you have 5 heroes leading the charge. And the way these are paired together, how do you pair them? So a hero can be paired with specific unit categories that are based on the character's background lore. So for example, Karl Franz would only be paired with cavalry, but he can also be paired with melee infantry, but would get bonus to cavalry.
So it looks like you can get famous characters such as Karl Franz to join your army. He'll be leading some regiments, as you can see on screen, where he seems to be leading a unit of greatswords. So what I'm assuming here is multiple people will be running Karl Franz at some point or another? I am assuming that players will not be able to fight the same battle as each other. So for example, you and a buddy would not play the same battle in the form of a co-op if this is the case. Or else, then people would have 2 Karl Franz? It's likely that the heroes are locked, so say for example, if you're using Karl Franz in a battle, maybe your friend will use Balthazar Gelt, he won't be able to use Karl. I'm not 100% sure here, I'm going with basic understanding and admittedly a bit of confusion.
How do I get Karl Franz in my army?
Here we go. So here's something that you guys will probably have been guessing, maybe you're happy about it, maybe I'm not, but the main way to get Karl Franz and many other heroes is a gacha system. So the gacha system allows you to draw heroes using in-game currency, rewards, and even premium currency, which we'll talk about in the future.
I must admit, I actually had to Google what a gacha system is. I don't do a lot of mobile-based gaming, so this was a new term to me. So for those who aren't too tech-savvy when it comes to mobile gaming, let me just explain what it is. The gacha system is a term used to describe a certain type of monetization scheme commonly found in free-to-play mobile games. Gacha games give out randomized rewards in exchange for some form of in-game currency. Some amount of this currency can be earned by playing through the game, or inevitably, you can also purchase it with real money. Alright, so yeah, we were expecting monetization. It's a mobile game, they're known to basically be money sinks, aren't they? I'm not going to complain about this because at the end of the day, if it's a free game, it's got to make some form of income somehow, doesn't it? I'd personally much rather that than having to get an ad every time you click on another window. My limited knowledge of mobile gaming shows me that that's very common. So from what I gather, a gacha system is very much a loot box, but for mobile gaming. I myself am not a fan of this system. I don't like it on console, I don't like it on PC, I just don't like loot boxes, but that's a personal thing, and it's up to the player if they wish to jump into this or not.
So now that you control that territory, it's your job to allocate your population into that territory to start producing its resources. Now, population is something that you can get from winning battles or for certain mission rewards. And as your population grows, your prosperity will increase as well. Now, prosperity is a resource that you can reinvest into that territory, and based on that, you can upgrade it and increase its resource production.
Is there any way to speed this process up?
No, that's a key point here. Well, not really. Yeah, your activity as a player, of course, will, determine how much of your population you get, fighting more battles, winning more missions. And of course, your aggression as a faction will determine how many territories you get, right? If your faction is smart and, is as aggressive as possible, then of course you'll get more places to get more resources.
So your faction will have to work together to control more territories. Okay, that's feeling a bit more Total War-ish. If a bunch of your forces are going out to take over territories, then you'll get bonuses from controlling the areas. I'm not sure if you're going to get more bonuses if you take the territory or not, but it seems to be more faction specific. The more your faction, I'm assuming they mean race, like for example the Empire, the Orcs and so on, the more you control, the more benefits you get as a whole.
But what is not a scenario that's going to happen is, a whale jumps into your server and starts dropping tons of cash, gets months of progress at a time and, jumps ahead of everyone else. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's something we've all experienced in a strategy game, and that's something that we're absolutely trying to make sure doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think they're referring more to mobile strategy games, because I don't think there's a lot of those types of games in regards to standard gaming. But this is good to hear, in all honesty. It seems that just jumping in and dropping a lot of cash is not going to give you benefits. Or well, it will, but it's not going to make you extremely powerful. You can't just jump into a server, I'm assuming, and drop a bunch of cash where playing for an hour is going to give you enough progress like if you've been playing constantly for 2 months, for example. This is at least to my understanding. However, if this is the actual case, well, maybe there's some promise for this game.
Right. So, the end of the campaign, right? After a couple months, based on the season rankings and the campaign objectives, we'll be distributing those final rewards. Those will be exclusive rewards for winners of the campaign. And that's when we'll transition into Season 2. And the key point here is, unlike a lot of other strategy games where all of your progress is preserved, the only thing that you'll be holding on to is the progress on your heroes. Everything else is reset to 0.
Can we change factions?
You can change factions. You can even change races if you're really committed.
Speaking of races, which one are you going to play?
I'm going for greenskins.
Empire.
I want to start a WOG, man.
Okay, yeah, you look like a greenskin.
Oh, yeah, well, you look like you should get a Balthazar Geltz mask on that face there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
A little bit of cringe at the end of that clip, but let's just move on. So it looks like the game is divided into seasons. This is essentially your campaign, where at the end of the season, your progress will then reset. To explain it in a better sense, say for example, if you've played World of Warcraft, they have PvP seasons, where you'll get a certain ranking and so on, and eventually that will end to move on to the next season. Depending on your ranking, you'll get certain rewards, which I think works rather well. This will make sure that no faction stays too powerful for too long. My only concern here is hopefully what you can indeed spend money on, should you decide to spend money, is stuff that can carry over. They've stated that heroes carry over, so hopefully if that's the case, heroes, cosmetics, stuff like that will, and hopefully resources and so on aren't purchasable, because while I myself am not a fan of stuff like that, it's more in the case for the player. It would be a bit of a shame if you've spent money on resources, the season has ended and basically your money means nothing. Unless, of course, it's refunded in a certain way back to in-game currency, whatever's left over. I'm not 100% too sure how something like this could indeed work, but these are just generalized thoughts.
So, anyways, only your heroes will transfer. You can change factions, you can change races. That takes us back to the original question here. Do I need to spend money to get ahead in this game?
No!
No?
No!
Good.
So that's been one of the driving core factors of development of this game. We want teamwork and coordination and cooperation to be key in succeeding in this game.
They keep pushing the fact that monetization will not be a driving force in this game. We'll have to wait and see, of course, but if this is truly the case, then it might actually be quite good. If players don't get an unfair advantage just because they've spent cash, then, well, maybe we'll have a truly balanced mobile game. I'm not going to hold my breath, but it looks rather promising.
It's time for a big announcement. The small-scale player test will be released January 13th. So it's coming up real soon. Yeah.
To join this, there is a Discord link that you can sign up to and put your email, and we will send you instructions how to install and how to play the game. And it's for Android only, I'm afraid, so we will have maybe some more tests in the future for Apple.
Yeah. How long the test will be, that's not something that is determined yet. It's basically, it'll come down to when we decide that we've had enough feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, so in this test, there'll be no payment methods, no monetization or anything like that as well. And as you've probably heard us just mentioned, there is only green skins and Empire in this current test. We'll release more in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think one note that I want to add here, if you go into that small scale player test, you'll find a lot of PH icons, whether
What do you
it's
mean?
PH stands for placeholder.
Oh,
So
of course.
one thing we're taking really serious here is faithfulness to the IP, making sure everything's lore accurate. So if there's anything that's not fully finalized, then we'll be putting a PH in front of there. Just wanted to let you guys know that beforehand.
Yeah, and if you even have any suggestions, you're welcome to let us know.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of this here, right, is we're open to your feedback. Of course, this is early on, so pretty much everything is still subject to change. If
Yeah.
you guys feel really strongly about something, that's something we'll take into account, of course.
Yeah, this is equal to an alpha test. So there are plenty of things we're willing to consider changing.
So they're going to do an alpha test very soon. At the time of recording this video, there's only 5 days left and you'll be able to sign up if you're a member of their official Discord. They haven't stated how many players they're going to allow to be able to test it, but I'm assuming they're trying to get a fair amount of players to be able to get as much feedback as possible. Alpha testing is always good, and it's only available for Android at the moment. I've signed up to it myself, so I'll be able to provide any updates should there be anything of interest. One thing to note here is they're stating that they want to keep as lore accurate as possible. Let's see how this goes in terms of art style and gameplay, but so far everything looks quite good in terms of generalized art. There's not much more to discuss. They had a rather short Q&A session which was just about 3 or 4 questions, but it already goes over stuff which was already discussed via the livestream itself. I've requested some other assets that have been shown exclusively on the Discord, so we will have a follow-up video to this hopefully within a few days. But until then, what do you guys think about the recent news regarding Total War Battles Warhammer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.